Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming from right here in our quaint studio. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. I'm joined in studio today by Jonathan Voico.
Old bandit's ready to roll.
Writer, director, producer, Robert Meyer Burnett.
Wow, I'm going to follow him.
And most importantly, you guys. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. And here's how today's show is going to go. We're going to start off by talking about a number of predetermined topics we got lined up for you guys. Then in the second part of the show is where we're going to take your live questions. If you got a live question, follow it, send it on into our tip link at www.streamlins.com/John Campea/tip, and we'll answer it in the second part of the show, provided we think it's appropriate to be addressed on the show. And hey, the good news about the tip link is that it's actually good 24 hours a day. So if you're listening to the show on podcasts later, either on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or if you're watching this video a little bit later in the day, you can still send in a question. And if you send one in when we're not actually live, we'll just get around to answering it on the next episode. All right, few items of housekeeping here before we get started in the main topics. Tonight at 6 p.m. Los Angeles time, we are doing the YouTube premiere, whatever you call it, however the terminology is. We're just doing a virtual premiere on YouTube of the documentary we made a few years ago called Movie Trailers, A Love Story, which you can see it here on my screen. It's a documentary we made about our love of movie trailers, and we hope you guys will come by and join us. It's at 6 p.m. Los Angeles time tonight. So I'm going to be in the live chat. Jonathan and Rob are going to be popping in the live chat, just talking about as the movie goes on. We hope you guys will join us for that.
It's true.
Also, just a reminder that we do have our movie meetup tour has begun. We did our first one up in the Phoenix area the other night. This Friday, 2 days from now, we're going to be in San Diego. That show is completely sold out. So thank you to everybody who bought tickets, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys in San Diego when we go. But also we got these upcoming ones. We've got on September 11th, Albuquerque, New Mexico. Friday, September 12th, Denver, Colorado. Saturday, September 13th, Salt Lake City, Utah. And on Sunday, September 14th, we're going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now,
sweet.
All of these, the specific theaters, the specific movie, and the specific showtime, that's to be announced. We're going to announce all those for those upcoming dates, but we do have the one for Salt Lake City, Utah on September 13th. And that is going to be at the Megaplex Gateway in Salt Lake City. We're going to be seeing the 6:10 show of Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, the extended edition. And we hope many of you guys will come. And here's the interesting thing. Before we started the show yesterday, not a single ticket to that movie screening was sold. Since we announced it yesterday morning, let me see how many we got here. I got about 40 tickets sold to it now since yesterday.
You know, John, Lord of the Rings is the #1 trilogy.
Since Star Wars, yeah. Since Star Wars, I will agree that it is the #1 trilogy. Anyway, guys, we do hope to see many of you guys out to these things. And again, for those of you in San Diego, we will see you in San Diego. All right, guys. With that down, let's get things started off here, shall we? We're going to start with this. Again, for a guy who doesn't like K-pop Demon Hunter all that much, I do talk about it a lot. Because it's what is happening, the phenomena of it is remarkable. And even though I don't like the movie all that much, I love the music. Absolutely love the music. And it has been a smash runaway success. It quickly became the #1 animated streaming thing on Netflix of all time. And guess what? Pretty soon it's going to pass Red Notice. That's the name of it, right? The Rock and Ryan Reynolds. The really bad Dwayne Johnson and Ryan Reynolds movie, Red Notice. The really bad one, which is their #1 streamed film of all time. Yeah, K-pop Demon Hunter's going to pass it. And some of you might remember that a few weeks ago, Rob and I said on this show, you know what they really should do? What they should really do is book some theatrical engagements for it and have special sing-along screenings. Man, we guaranteed those would sell out. Well, a week later, after we said that on this show, lo and behold, they announced they're going to do some sing-along screenings. And they're going to happen between August 22nd and August 24th. 1,700 screens. So it's like almost still a week away.
And that's not an insubstantial release.
No, that's almost wide release numbers. That's much bigger than limited release. They have already, according to the Hollywood Reporter, They have already sold out over 1,000 screens. Days before the movie, they drop it, over 1,000 of those 1,700 screens are completely sold out already. And
for a show you can watch on Netflix.
For something you can watch on Netflix, people want to go do the sing-along. And of the 700 screens that aren't sold out, they're nearing selling out. Now, look, I am not naive enough to say that, oh, now, see, Netflix, put out any of your films and they're going to sell out 1,000 screens. Obviously not. But the principle is sound. Hey, Netflix, look, you put these things out in theaters first. You're going to make money that right now for you doesn't exist. And then when you bring it over to streaming, it's going to have an even bigger launch because it had a theatrical release. That's not an opinion, guys. That has mathematically and statistically been proven out over and over and over and over and over again. It's not a question anymore. It's a statement of fact. Again, not to say that if they put Kpop Demon Hunter in theaters first, that it would have been $1 billion film. I'm not saying that at all. But it would have made money that doesn't exist for Netflix. And then the money that does exist for Netflix, it would have still been there, only more so. Listen, you can't have a case study like this, Rob. It seems to me that you can't have a case study like this and not go, what else should we be slipping into theaters? Either pre-streaming or even post-debuting it. Now, with something like Kpop Demon Hunters, you've got a built-in gimmick where you can release it as a sing-along thing and join thousands of other fans and sing along. Most movies won't have that kind of an element unless you want to put it out in action film and have a screen that's called a punch-along, where you hit people when the heroes hit people on screen. That'd be kind of interesting. Actually, I go sit in the back and watch that. That could be more fun than the movies.
That's our show. That's our topic later.
Yeah, that's later. That's a little bit later. Yeah, as a matter of fact, that's exactly our topic later.
AMC is experimenting with something new.
So AMC's just experimenting. It's their own Hunger Games social experiment. That being said, Rob, again, the pop culture phenomenon that is this Kpop Demon Hunter continues to show. And what do you think is going to be the takeaway lesson? Let's say you're an executive at Netflix and you're seeing these screenings like selling out. What are the lessons you take away? What are the things you think you got to be cautious about overreacting to? How do you see this?
Well, first of all, what I love about this is, so much of our pop culture now, whether it's Marvel, whether Jurassic Park, Star Wars, belongs to a different era. And we're asking our youth to accept all of this old pop culture. We expect them to be the new audience for it all. And I think first and foremost, what I love about Kpop Demon Hunters and One Piece and all of these Asian influence things, they belong to this generation. People are going to grow up and they're going to think in 20 years. Remember when Kpop Demon Hunters came out and we went and saw the sing-along at the AMC and we sang our hearts out or whatever? This is theirs. And this is new. We're always asking, like, what's Hollywood going to remake in 20 years? What's going to be? Now, I'm not saying they're going to remake this because this is just the beginning of we're going to get an onslaught of Kpop Demon Hunters movies. I'm sure there'll be a prequel series. The Andor of Kpop Demon Hunters will be on in 20 years or whatever.
Yeah, the story about Rumi's mom or whatever. And again, we're not saying here when they do sequels, they're going to mimic the same success as the first one. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. We're not saying it's not.
No, but I just think this is an event of today, which I think is really exciting. I think it's really cool, whether you like Kpop Demon Hunters, whether it's for you or not, it belongs to this generation, which I think is great because it shows that media and what Hollywood, because this was made by Sony, what there is still a lot of relevant material, new stuff that can be created with the right creators in place and people like Netflix spending $100 million to make this. There are successes and wins to be had. So that I think is inherently optimistic for the business, which I think is great. That said, I love that they're doing this. I think that Netflix also is giving Guillermo del Toro's
which we're going to talk about in a little bit.
Yeah. And they also have the guy who made Conclave, his new movie with Colin Farrell about the gambler in Macau is also getting a theatrical release before it goes
Ballad of a Small Player.
Ballad of a Small Player, which I can't. The trailer just dropped and it looks fantastic. So I think Netflix might be at least rethinking the fact that, hey, you know, we understand these movies are made by you. They're going to your streaming service. They're going to live there forever. But there is money to be made for you. And there's money to be made that if you do well theatrically, that means other creators are going to come to Netflix and go, look, like the David Finchers of the world, if you're going to make the Cliff Booth movie, which they are, that Tarantino wrote, we'll get to see that in a theater before we have to watch it. Because how can you make, you know, let's see all that. So I think that this is a huge... it's very exciting in terms of the future of what Netflix streaming movies can do. And if philosophically you have somebody like that trailer for Frankenstein looks amazing.
Yeah.
And I want to see that visual splendor that Guillermo del Toro delivers on a big screen.
Yeah.
I don't want to, even movies I don't love of Guillermo del Toro's like Crimson Peak are amazing to look at on a big screen. By the way, I did buy the 4K special edition of that, even though I didn't like it very much.
Of course you did.
But it looks incredible. So I think what Netflix is doing with this is huge. And I think the fact that they're having success, it's not going to work for everything, obviously.
No, at least not on the same scale.
No, but they've got it's set a tone. And I'll tell you something. Part of this is because of our modern era, social media. You think most people knew this was even happening? It's because of our show, John. But I think that this is a social media event the same way Barbenheimer was. You've got all these people that have already seen this. They've become big fans. They're tweeting to their friends. They're going on TikTok going, hey, you're going to go to the sing-along? How many online, are we going to get chicken jockey style? I don't know. We're going to get that.
Not.
But I'll guarantee you there's going to be a lot of videos of people standing and singing and dancing in those theaters
100%.
to K-pop Demon Hunters, and it's going to become a thing.
100%. Here's an interesting thing to bring up, though. A friend of mine was asking me, we were talking about impact that movies make. We often hear about like movies on, streaming don't make impact. And I think that's an oversimplification, but there is a core truth to it, which is, I was thinking about this the other day. You're looking at the popularity of K-pop Demon Hunter and all that kind of stuff. When I look back over the past number of years and movies that have come out, a lot of us are still talking about a lot of them. Like we still talk about Inception. People still talk about Oppenheimer. People are talking about Barbie. People are talking about, all these films. When's the last time somebody wrote in and asked about The Irishman? When's the last time anybody wrote in or any conversation came up about currently the number one streamed movie all time original for Netflix, Red Notice? When's the last time anybody asked about that?
Never.
The theatrical element to it, look, it may be unfair, but it's a truism nonetheless. Movies that go straight to streaming, they can become momentary big hits, but they do not make any permanent impact on the culture or on anything like that the way theatrical movies do, at least not yet. It's going to be interesting to see what something like K-pop does, because you're talking about the legacy of it as we move forward down the line. I honestly don't know if it'll have any legacy, but maybe this, even a brief theatrical stint, can create more of an impact and create a bigger pop cultural footprint than it would have than if it was just sitting on Netflix. Because so far, nothing that has just lived on Netflix or on streaming in the movieverse has really had that kind of an impact.
Well, movies, like you always say, are cultural experiential events. And the things like the movies that we saw that in our youth that we remembered, whether it was Star Wars, whether it was Lord of the Rings. I mean, think about the excitement leading up to Return of the King. The world was excited. It was everywhere. People couldn't, and it's based on a book where everyone knew the end. But it was so well realized and so many people fell in love with it. That quote I made, Lord of the Rings is the number one trilogy, is from that song that they did for the Stephen Colbert Show where you had Merry and Pippin.
Yeah.
And you
Colbert is a
because he's a fanatic. But the thing is, those movies still have resonance. Like the Harry Potter theme, you can hear the Shire theme in your head right now.
Yeah.
And what I found so interesting is our youth, the younger people who are driving culture on TikTok and on social media, haven't had movies that they're making cultural events in that ecosystem. Marvel movies kind of did, but K-pop Demon Hunters is an example of that. It's become a social media phenom where you've had a movie fused with social media, which doesn't happen a lot because most people just don't care. But when you have something like this that becomes it becomes fused with that part of culture. I think we're going to see more and more of that as people suddenly come back to movies. People are coming back to film. They kind of went away for a while, but now I think that there's a cultural shift back to movies because there's movies that people dig, starting with Top Gun Maverick.
The final question I'm going to have as we move on here, because we've sat on this, we've talked about this longer than I planned, but so now will K-pop Demon Hunter actually have sustained impact, or is it going to come and go like the latest Labubu? Like that, and that's what we're going to see, because these things come and go so fast.
I think it edges towards sustained only because they're talking about sequels and live action remakes.
But will they have any kind of impact as
I think the
original did?
musical component for this will allow it to continue on.
That is the different element to this one, right? Because they are topping the charts. Anyway, guys, we've talked about this long enough. Question is for you. What do you think about this? This little limited ready completely sold out over 1,000 theaters. And it's probably going to sell out all of them. I don't know what kind of lesson or, takeaway is there from this. Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. That down. Let's move on to this, shall we? Speaking of Netflix and limited theatrical releases, there's a film that a lot of people are very excited about because the trailer came out and it was awesome. Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein with Oscar Isaac. Looks fantastic. Looks really good. And now we have found out, according to Forbes, that it's getting a theatrical release. They said this. On Monday, however, Netflix Tudum announced that Frankenstein will be released in select theaters on October 17th and then lurches onto Netflix on November 7th, so about 3 weeks later. The number of theaters Frankenstein will be playing on is yet to be announced. The select theaters announcement means that the film will only play in limited release, in all likelihood to qualify for award season, like events like the Oscars, Golden Globes, Critics' Choice Awards, and all the Guild Awards. All right, so it is not a new thing that movies will sometimes, that aren't even ever had a plan to be theatrical, will get into just a couple of theaters to meet the requirements to be eligible for Oscars, Golden Globes, Critics' Choice, that sort of thing. But sometimes they do much more than that, even though they're still technically, because limited release, Rob, can mean anything from 2 theaters to, 900 theaters. Find it interesting that they're saying they're going to put out this Frankenstein thing on October 17th, which again is a number of weeks before its Netflix stream. So it's got a little bit of a runway. If you look at this right now, and again, I think this is going to do nothing but be good for Netflix. I think by putting this in theaters first, when they do launch it on November 7th, I think it's going to have a bigger launch than it would have if you just put it to Netflix. But there's no word right now about how many theaters. Is it going to be 10 to 15? I doubt they would have announced we're putting it out in theaters at the Tudum event if it's just 5 or 6 theaters. Could it be 1,000 theaters? Could it be 200 theaters? How big of a release do you think they're going to give it? Obviously limited, but limited can mean a lot of things. How big of a release do you think they're going to give it? And then secondly, how big of a deal is this for Netflix to do something like this with the Guillermo del Toro film? I
think it's a huge deal. I mean, they didn't do it with his Pinocchio.
No, they didn't.
And the fact you have Oscar Isaac, as Dr. Frankenstein, and this film looks visually just absolutely stunning. First of all, this movie's coming out for Halloween. And if they don't, Halloween has become bigger over the last decades. I think probably a lot of that is, believe it or not, fueled by The Nightmare Before Christmas. And I really do think that, look at this shot right here. I think that
so gorgeous.
Yeah,
so beautiful.
And I think that if Netflix was smart, there's no reason why a streamer that's making movies can't also come out and say, we're bringing you, Netflix is bringing you the Halloween to movie theaters you've always wanted. Come see one of our great fantasists, one of our great horror directors, showing you his take on one of the greatest monster stories of all time. In the way only he can. They should push the hell out of this. They should push it on social media. They should say that it's the Halloween experience that you've never had. Guillermo del Toro, he's like one of these beloved pop culture figures. Who doesn't love Guillermo del Toro? He's kind of like in a way, there's a Tim Burton element to him. There's a Kevin Smith element to him. I mean, he belongs to the fans. You know, he is a fan, and it's like if they don't take advantage of this, it should be a major release for 3 weeks over Halloween. They should own Halloween with this. There's so many different. I mean, I don't think they have the marketing wit to do it. To be honest, I don't think but they should. Now, you're asked the question, how many theaters they're going to put this in? I'd put this in 3,500 theaters, or put it on 3,500 screens.
Which would obviously not be limited.
No.
We know it's going to be limited. So how many do you really think that means?
I mean,
because I agree with you. I would put this thing on 3,000 screens.
because
That's what I would.
Netflix is still thinking like, what does it matter to them? You know, they have to book the theaters. You think that theater owners wouldn't want to book this in like the Dolby cinemas of the world? You think AMC or our Harkins Theater wouldn't put it in its Cine XL thing? They need to push this. By the way, John, in my neighborhood, 2 blocks from my house, one of the neighbors on a major street has put up a gigantic and ornate Halloween display in their front yard. It's huge. It's August.
Yeah,
it's the middle of August, and there's a gigantic Halloween display in their yard, which, by the way, is dope. If you're on Cajon in Redlands, check it out. It's up by Prospect Park. It's amazing. Halloween's big, baby. They should cash in on this. I mean, the Criterion, the release, they do a 4K Halloween thing. Most of the companies are celebrating Halloween. Canopy, the great Canopy for libraries, they celebrate Halloween. Here's our great new Halloween titles. Why isn't Netflix pushing the hell out of this already?
Well, I mean, they got some time to build up to it.
I know, man.
So let's see how much they actually put into it. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Netflix is saying they are going to give a theatrical release, limited, but limited can mean a lot of things, for Guillermo del Toro's new Frankenstein movie. It's a very good move on their part, but how far are they going to go with it? What do you think they should do? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, with that down, let's move on to this. You know, sometimes some of our favorite people do some pretty dumb things. You know, I love me Will Smith, and then he got up on the stage at the Oscars and did what he did. And now Lord and Miller are going to make an Archie movie. So Lord and Miller, of course, the architects behind the best Spider-Man movies ever made, Spider-Man Into and Across the Spider-Verse. Of course, they were 21 Jump Street movies were great. And they've got, probably most importantly, they got Project Hail Mary coming out. Well, according to a new report, this tandem that could probably do just about anything they wanted in the business right now, especially after Project Hail Mary comes out and might get a Best Picture nomination.
Oh, it will.
According to Deadline, they have for some reason decided to do a live action Archie movie. As Deadline is saying, Archie comics movie in the works at Universal with Lord and Miller and Emma Watts producing. They say this, the TV take of Archie comics Riverdale, which was really weird, spanned 137 episodes on the CW and ran from 2017 to 2023, but Universal Pictures believes that there are more Archie stories to tell on the big screen. The studios has a project in the works with Tom King adapting the 85-year-old comic and Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, the former 20th Century Studios film boss, Emma Watts producing. King wrote the DC comic Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which I believe is the basis for the upcoming movie. Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which has adapted into Craig Gillespie's directed movie, set for release next summer. He's also a writer and executive producer on HBO DC's Studios' upcoming Lantern series. Okay. Everything about this sounds good. King, I cannot wait for Lanterns, and who did Superwoman Woman of Tomorrow, being behind it. Lord and Miller coming on to develop and direct it. This all sounds great.
Emma Watts, too.
Emma Watts producing it. Until you get to the part of what it is. What's happening? An Archie movie? Really? Listen, I get it. We are all of us, and I'm included in this. We all often don't understand it, why other people aren't interested in the same things we're interested in. I get that. Or why anybody would be interested in things we aren't interested in. I'm as guilty as that as anybody, and this proves it. Who has been asking for an Archie movie? I don't understand how anybody can look at this and think this is an interesting concept. Now, if they decide to take I don't know if you remember the Family Guy when they did a rib on Riverdale, and if that was actually pretty fun. If they want to do a Family Guy kind of Riverdale kind of Archie spinoff thing, I don't know, maybe, but it must have been a hell of an idea. Like whatever the concept is, it must be a hell of an idea. Because again, Rob, like Lord and Miller right now can do probably next to anything they want, except for maybe, do a Star Wars film. They'll probably never be allowed to do that. But they can do just about anything they want right now. Why? Why? An Archie movie, especially coming off of what Riverdale did to the reputation of Archie. Anyway, you saw this. What do you think?
Okay. I'm gonna say that I think they know something we don't. Because
it must have been a hell of a pitch.
Tom King is, first of all, the last guy in the world I would think would write an Archie project. Emma Watts, who was running 20th Century Fox for a while, I mean, not the entire studio, but she was one of the most respected executives in the business, still is. Now she's got a producing deal. And Lord and Miller. I think you're going to get something more along the lines of a Barbie than a Riverdale. Because Riverdale was absurd. There was something. This is going to seem weird to me or you, or to everybody. When I went to summer camp, when I was, in my when I was in elementary school and junior high, when I went to summer camp, one of the things that we passed around the most were Archie comics. And also Archie comics and Richie Rich and Jackie Jokers and Little Dot, and there was something about those comics that the characters were pretty compelling. And everyone liked reading them. There was something wholesome about them. And I don't even remember why that I loved devouring these comics at summer camp, but it was actually something I looked forward to. I don't even know where they came from. Like, did the camp have Archie comics, but no other comics?
Probably just all left behind.
Yeah, but there was no superhero comics. And I just remember finding those stories compelling about the Archie characters. I don't know why. I haven't read an Archie comic in 50 years. Probably it's 40 years. But there was something about those comics. Now, clearly, I wasn't the only one. Riverdale was a complete subversion of those comics. But there was something about those characters. I could see somebody looking at the Barbie movie going, I can see somebody drawing a line from Barbie to Archie and figuring out, isn't Josie and the Pussycats a spinoff of Archie?
So is Teenage Witch.
Sabrina.
Yep.
So, and remember, there was Josie and the Pussycats in outer space, which was dope. I'd still love a model of their spaceship. But you could draw a line. And I think somebody, if you were to ask me, and Lord and Miller with their 21 and 22 Jump Street sensibilities, they probably have struck comedic gold. Because don't bet against the people there. Who would have thought Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse and now Beyond the Spider-Verse?
Well, yeah, I certainly didn't.
No, and so I think, look, I'm trying to be optimistic. Give them the benefit of the doubt.
I think it could be good. I mean,
I think there's something there. There is something there that we're not seeing.
Who was asking for 21 Jump Street?
No one.
And I'm literally asking for more.
I did love the idea as soon as I heard about them doing 21 Jump.
But with that cast, those were hilarious.
But here's the thing. It's funny because you mentioned Barbie. Like literally earlier this morning, Scott, who's like one of my business managers, Scott, we were discussing this, and he wrote, "I have a feeling it's more Barbie and less Riverdale."
Yes,
and that makes sense. But here's
by the way, I hadn't seen that. I'm just saying, I didn't. I came up with that. See, great minds think alike.
I've got his text message in front of me. So, but the thing about that for me is that, but they did Barbie. And can you just do a Barbie-like thing with Archie? The other thing was this. When they put out Barbie, we hadn't had anything like that ever, right? We just had an Archie thing that ran for like 6 years, I think. And so and I don't know if they're just looking to say, oh, look, Barbie. Well, let's do our Barbie. Archie. I think that comes with its own set of unique problems.
Well,
but again, I'm putting in the phrase of it must have been a hell of a pitch. You're saying they must know something we don't know. That's really kind of the same thing. I can't even imagine what the pitch must have been for Lord and Miller to go, yeah, that sounds awesome.
Archie's a demon hunter.
Or yeah, it's Archie Gang Demon Hunters.
It's funny. I mean, I think back to, I only met Emma Watts once at a screening of X-Men Apocalypse on the lot. They were screening it for the studio. And she struck me as a very serious-minded person. Everyone, this would be if you would ask me, okay, Emma Watts is going off on a producing deal, what's she going to do? This would be pretty much the last thing that I would have pinned on her, which meets meeting her one time, I'm like, she knows something I don't know.
Yeah, of course.
She knows something.
But is anybody going to be interested in this?
You know what? I think anybody can be made to be interested in something that's good.
Okay, you know what? Interesting. Okay, I just had this thought. What if it's like the Archie Gang, but much later? George Clooney is Archie. Christopher Lloyd is Jughead. I know Christopher Lloyd's a lot older than George, but George Clooney is that. I don't know. Helen Mirren is Veronica.
Yeah, I
don't know.
But I think they're going to do it this is going to sound, it's not animated, but the way that Into the Spider-Verse used things like surrealism in its animation, I think we're going to get something that is not quite reality and not like Riverdale was out of reality, but something a very surreal.
What, something like Welcome to Pleasantville?
No, I don't know. I mean, kind of the way Barbie took place in its own universe.
Yeah, but that's kind of, so do you think there might be a fantasy element to it?
I just don't think it's going to be naturalistic.
More hyper real.
Yes, there's going to be, look, the first movie that comes to mind, and I don't even want to say it because then people are going to be like, no, is the Wachowski Speed Racer. But,
well, actually, you know what? Frostfire Tiger in the live chat said, like, maybe something like a Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Yes.
I think that sounds like what you were describing.
Yes. I could see it being now I don't know how that's going to work. I could see there's animated dream sequences. I could see musical numbers. It could be wild. I mean, it could be like Ken Russell's Tommy for all, I don't know. But I think that they've got a handle on it. And not only that, if this deal is this far along with these many people, they have a script.
Or you know what? Go full Lars von Trier and just make an MC or a NC-17 like full adult Archie thing. Have like, Thursday night orgies in Riverdale and all like just go full R-rated. Get Lars von Trier on board. He's still directing, right? And just go something like that. I don't know. Directed by Lord and Miller. So there you go. All right, guys. Question is for
Breaking the waves.
What do you guys think about this? Lord and Miller are going to do a live action Archie movie. Again, I don't understand any logic behind this at all. I can't imagine. How good was the pitch? What I would give to hear what the pitch was for this thing, because I just don't see any logic to doing a live action Archie, but it must have been a hell of a pitch. Anyway, whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? A couple of the hottest names in the industry right now are the Duffer brothers. They, of course, brought us and were behind, and the masterminds behind Stranger Things that became a true pop culture phenomenon for years and years and years and years, which is also how long we've all had to wait in between seasons, years and years and years and years. We're still waiting on the final season here, but there's been a lot of talk around town last couple of months because their deal with Netflix is expiring in, I believe, April of 2026. Their deal's done. Where are they going to go? Also, there's been big news is that Paramount got taken over by Skydance, and ever since the takeover happened, they've been dropping bombs. Like they landed the Timothy Chalamet project that everybody in town has been trying to get their hands on. They announced big priorities like 15 theatrical films a year. They said they're fast tracking, prioritizing movies like Top Gun 3 and Star Trek and things like that. They've been making a lot of deals. This might be the most significant one they've done. According to Deadline, the Duffer brothers have now closed a 4-year film, TV, and streaming mega deal with Paramount once they leave Netflix. Now, I'm going to read this a little bit at length because it's pretty interesting. The new Paramount owned by Skydance has made it official that Stranger Things architects, the Duffer Brothers, and their Upside Down Pictures label are officially coming over to the Melrose Avenue lot in a wide-ranging 4-year exclusive deal for, well, sort of an exclusive. We'll get to that in a second. For feature films, television, and streaming projects. We told you about the new big deal, blah, blah, blah. The big plans here for the Duffer Brothers is that they now get to make movies for the big screen. Their new deal at Paramount starts at the end of their current deal with Netflix in April 2026. At the end of their Netflix deal, the Duffers will remain involved with Stranger Things and other existing properties developed over at the OTT service, which is, of course, Netflix. So it's an exclusive deal, but the things they've already got, you know, irons in the fire with, like Stranger Things, they will still be involved in that. All right. This is a big deal. Look, I have a number of ethical questions surrounding how Paramount got the FCC approval to get the Skydance takeover. But that aside, the new ownership there have been making bold, big moves right out of the gate. It was a huge deal that they got that Timothée Chalamet project because everybody in town wanted it and they were all bidding on it. They seem to have a big commitment to theatrical, and now being able to come out and sign the Duffer Brothers, because I know for a fact NBC Universal was trying to sign them. I know for a fact another major studio was, like, they were being sought after. They had numbers being thrown at them. 4-year deal to develop television, feature films, and projects for streaming. This is huge for Paramount. I mean, it's also really big for the Duffer Brothers. And let's see what they can do post Stranger Things. Like, are they a one-hit wonder with Stranger Things? Well, I mean, they were around in the business before Stranger Things, but never had anything nearly as big. So this is a huge deal, I think, for Paramount to kind of make this deal with them. Rob, how big of a deal is this?
I think it's a huge move. I mean, Hollywood traditionally, they used to give people what were called housekeeping deals at the studios, and they were obviously sought after. Richard Donner and Joel Silver, for instance, had an ongoing housekeeping deal with Warner Brothers, and it was understood that they're developing whatever their movies were going to be were Warner Brothers films. That's where we got things like everything from the Lethal Weapon movies to Conspiracy Theory, and then everything that Joel Silver was doing outside of Fox. These are not given out willy-nilly anymore. You have to be pretty special to get these kinds of deals. Now, Skydance has the money to do it. I think Skydance, David Ellison's, he's been in this business for a long time. Everyone knows he basically is the de facto financier for Paramount and has been for almost 2 decades. Now he controls the studio. Now he's become the player. He's planting his flag saying, look, I'm not here to mess around. I'm here to do what I was born to do, which is make movies and great television. And by hiring 2 of the hottest, by the way, younger talent in terms of the spectrum, I mean, these guys captured zeitgeist in a bottle.
Oh, huge.
With Stranger Things, even though they're using the 80s to do it. Where I come from, and their logo using the Stephen King font from the front of all of his 80s hardcovers was a genius move. And so I can't think of anybody better. I mean, look, there's a lot of pressure on them. When they've given housekeeping deals, when Netflix gives one to, say, somebody like Shonda Rhimes, there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure there. You got to make Shonda Rhimes TV shows for us. So the Duffer Brothers have 4 years, which is not a lot of time in movie time.
No,
because
it's not.
They got to hit the ground running. So I'd imagine they have a slate, and they're not going to be content to be like waiting for approval. I would imagine that they already have a slate that they're going to throw into production fairly quickly. I would imagine, because that's why the deal's only for 4 years. It's a great deal, but it's only for 4 years, which means chop chop, boys, get to work. What do you got for me?
Well, and listen, some of these deals don't always work out,
right?
For anybody. Benioff and Weiss signed this big exclusive deal. Nothing really came of it.
Although the 3-body problem.
Yeah, I was going to say 3-body problem came out. But J.J. Abrams had this big, wide-reaching thing.
Oh, Warner Brothers?
Banner, and that kind of didn't work out so well. What I think is really interesting about the 4-year deal is that 4 years is not a lot. I mean, 4 years can be the time it takes to make one movie. Like, from concept to delivery. I think what's key here for Paramount is that, remember, whatever even gets created before it gets to the screen will belong to Paramount.
Yep.
So even if they just come up with the concept for like 7 great projects, those all belong to Paramount. and then they get to go with it moving forward. So
I
that
would
could be
imagine though
significant.
they've got stuff ready to go. They're
I
locked
think
and
you're
loaded.
right. I think they've got fully fleshed out treatments and story Bibles for a whole bunch of stuff, and they're probably ready to go.
Because Paramount had to shell out some cheddar.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
some
And they've been
green has
throwing
flown
money
down
around.
that river.
They've been throwing money around like crazy,
Yeah.
and I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon. All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? The minds behind Stranger Things, now that it's coming to an end Netflix, they're packing up their bags and they're leaving Netflix and they're going over to Paramount for an exclusive 4-year deal to make TV shows and movies. Big deal. What do you expect from them in the future? Or do you think maybe they're just a one-hit wonder? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. Listen, we still got a lot of other things to talk about, including that Alien Earth episode last night. We're going to talk about that. Zack Snyder has his next film lined up. Piracy is now taking a massive spike across the world globally. We're going to talk about that. And a man was attacked in an AMC theater because staff at the AMC theaters wouldn't do their jobs or weren't allowed to do their jobs. We're going to talk about that and a few things more. But before we do, we're going to take a quick second and thank one of the sponsors of today's episode of the John Campea Show, our friends at PrizePicks. Guys, we want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's video, PrizePicks. What a great time to be a sports fan. Basketball playoffs are on. Hockey playoffs are on. It is the perfect time to jump into the action with PrizePicks, the easiest and most fun way to turn your sports knowledge into real winnings. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made really simple. Just pick more or less on a few player projections, like points, assists, goals, and you can win up to 2,000 times your money. For example, this week I've got Jalen Brunson for more than 24.5 points, or Jason Tatum for more than 6.5 rebounds. I love how fast and easy it is to lock in a lineup in just under a minute. Plus, they've got a couple of weekly features, like for example, Flex Friday. If your lineup doesn't win, you get your net losses back in promo funds. And every Tuesday, check out Taco Tuesday for discounted player projections up to 25% off. So download the app today and use the code Campea to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code Campea to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. And thank you to our friends at PrizePicks for sponsoring today's episode of the John Campea Show. All right, guys, that down. Let's move on to this. You know, Alien Earth debuted last week by dropping 2 episodes. And, you know, I was excited for it because I thought the trailers looked good. I got back on board with the Alien franchise as a result of Alien Romulus, which I had a lot of fun with. And the first 2 episodes blew my mind. But I was kind of precariously approaching episode 3. Why? I call it the Disney Plus effect. Because Disney Plus does a real good job, whether it's their Star Wars shows or Marvel shows, about dropping the premiere 1 or 2 episodes and them being really good and then kind of falling off a cliff. Not all of them, but a lot of them do that. So I thought, okay, the first 2 episodes blew my mind. Loved them. How would you follow up on episode 3? Oh, they delivered. Oh, they delivered. Now, look. Not a lot of big surprises or anything happened in this episode. So we are going to talk, we're not going to go way deep into spoilers, but just to let you guys know, we probably will talk about some specific details about the episode. I really don't think it's going to affect your viewing experience of it at all, but just in case you're one of those very sensitive people about that, which I understand, just be aware, we're going to put the spoilers warning up here. So mute your TV or computer until after the spoiler alert comes down. Fair? Fair. All right. You know, Rob, one of the things I said about the first 2 episodes of Alien Earth that I loved so much was the fact that it was a great blending of the action, one of the greatest action films of all time, Aliens, with the philosophical sci-fi, deep horror, space horror of the original Alien. And it seemed to mash them together really well. And this one episode continued that. We get to see Wendy versus an alien, which I thought was great. And that final image of an alien with its head ripped off, loved it. You get more into the intrigue when the one, what are they calling them? The hybrids. When the one hybrid comes and says, "Can I be your favorite now?" It's like, okay, now we got some Game of Thrones going on. The boy Cavalier character, I thought at first was going to annoy me. I'm loving this character now. Actually, I'm really. He reminds me a little bit of Empire from Foundation.
Yeah.
A little bit. The whole thing about the cyborg. I mean, the whole division of synths, cyborgs, and hybrids now is fascinating. The whole thing, and I am loving Timothy Oliphant's character. Holy crap, I am loving this character.
Yep.
Like pure scientist, pure kind of data in a way, kind of. I am loving this thing. It had the action, it had the emotion, it had intrigue, it had the sci-fi. Man, I'm not. Yeah, I'll say it. I think episode 3 was their best episode yet. I absolutely loved it, and I cannot wait for more episodes. Anyway, Rob, you saw episode 3. What did you think? And we have not talked about this yet.
No.
What did you think about the third episode?
Again, it's compelling science fiction, and it's what I've liked is there's things that the Alien franchise has always represented in terms of not just cosmic horror, but biology. The fact that the life cycle of an alien, a xenomorph, is antithetical to human beings, and the fact that, or any living mammal as we know them. I mean, I wonder if a face hugger could actually work. I want to know if an alien can implant, say, a blue whale. Can we have seafaring xenomorphs? I don't know. We'll probably find out on this show. But what I really love is how they're dealing with the evolution of humanity. At the same time, they're dealing with something that's antithetical to human evolution, which is so you're dealing with human life being changed irrevocably by being a cyborg, being a synth, being a hybrid, whatever. So, and talking about the immortality. And at the same time, you're confronting these things that are very, very happy to end human lives as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And does that push and pull lead to something that ultimately is better for humanity? And the fact that they have the Kid Cavalier character totally represents like the dark enlightenment tech bro philosophy of let's all live under one oligarchical, let's live under one authoritarian king because most people aren't worth their weight in salt anyway. So who cares? And we have that. We have a whole tech sector, the Peter Thiels of the world believe in that dark enlightenment, whatever that one guy is, I forget his Condon or whatever. But you read that stuff and you're thinking, Noah Hawley's read all of this, and he's incorporated it into a show that has a lot on its mind. This is what I want from my science fiction. Now, do I like they sort of added something to the xenomorph life cycle in this episode?
Talking about the tadpole?
Yes.
I loved it.
No, I don't know. I don't know if I'm on board. I gotta see.
But I mean, think about it. The face huggers plant something.
Yes.
We always knew. So it's not even the tadpole isn't even a new concept. We always knew
yes,
it
it's true.
And left something.
It's
so
true.
It
it's
had
true.
To be something like that.
It's true. You're right. I'm just but what Noah Hawley said that he was never on board with the Prometheus black goo. Like we invented xenomorphs in the last couple of years.
Yeah, there's a lot about that.
I always hated that. But he said that no, we're rejecting that. The xenomorphs are a product of millions of years of evolution. Yes, they are. They're the universe's response to people like us. And I love that. And I think this show, I'm surprised at how compelling. Actually, I'm not surprised. The ideas behind this show, once this show's over, I sit there and go, huh.
Yeah.
I think about, I haven't thought about I'm on to the next. Oh, back to my emails. No, not with this show. I actually find myself sitting in the Robservatory contemplating my own existence. And that's what I want from good science fiction. Go, Noah Hawley.
I had a very good TV watching night last night because once Anna and I got back, we sat down, we watched Alien, and then I watched the 4th episode of Dexter Resurrection. I'm still behind.
Oh, you're behind. Yeah.
But I got to episode 4, the first appearance of Peter Dinklage. What an episode. I'm sorry. Side note, but just let me say this one. Oh man, Dexter is back. I'm so glad Dexter is back, especially after that horrible, what was it called? Yeah, New Blood. Especially after that horrible New Blood. I'm so glad to see Dexter.
Yeah,
back.
I mean, just as an aside, my friend, it's really cool. My friend Rob G has a song. They took one of his songs off an album he did, and it's in the score for the show, and they put it on their soundtrack list for this season. But wait till you get to the end. I'm just saying, season 6 or episode 6 is pretty fun.
Well, I'm almost there. I'm getting caught up. Anyway, guys, question is for you: did you have a chance to see Alien Earth Episode 3. If so, what did you think about it? I'm seriously, I'm loving this series so far. Whatever you guys thought, jump down to the comments section below and leave your thoughts there. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Zack Snyder is a really interesting filmmaker. I honestly think, without and without joking around, I really think he is one of the pure best visual storytellers in the business. I really do. And I like or love most of his films, particularly, obviously, Man of Steel is one of my favorites. But, he also made those god-awful, I don't even remember the name of Rebel Moons. Like, garbage on a level that it's hard to, it's difficult for me to believe Zack Snyder made them, because I really think he's a very talented director. I like almost all of his films, and then along came Rebel Moon. Well, anyway, coming off the licking of the wounds, he now has his next project lined up. And his next project is called, according to Deadline, The Last Photograph is what it's going to be. And he's bringing over, because of all the success Rebel Moon had, he's bringing over a couple of the stars of Rebel Moon. That was a little bit of sarcasm, but he is bringing over some of the stars of Rebel Moon. Now, the idea behind The Last Photograph, I think, is pretty neat. Let me see if I can find, here it is. The story follows an ex-DEA operative who must return to the mountains of South America in an effort to find his missing niece and nephew, following the brutal murders of their diplomat parents. Enlisting the help of a washed-up junkie war photographer, the only person to have seen the face of the killers, he sets out determined to find the children and the truth, but soon learns he must also face the ghosts of his past. Their journey into the unknown takes them farther and farther away from civilization, bringing into question everything they believe while slowly eroding the distinction between real and surreal. You know what? Sign me up.
Yeah.
That sounds really good. And you know what? I also think it's a great move for Zack, after the debacle that was the Rebel Moons, to go back to some more run and gun cinematic indie style, more human stories, and get back to that. I think this is the exact right kind of project he should be doing. I also think this is the type of project that, if done right, because look, fair or unfair, Zack Snyder's name isn't so great in certain circles in movie fandom, right? Fair or unfair. I think a movie like this done well does worlds of good to rehabilitate that. I mean, there's also segments of fandom that Zack Snyder can do no wrong. And then there's some circles of fandom where his name doesn't have a very good reputation. But I think a movie like this done well cures a lot of that. By itself, I just think this is an interesting sounding movie, and I love the fact that this is the kind of project that he's going to do next. What do you think about the sounds of The Last Photograph and Snyder doing this film?
I'm right there with you. I think this sounds, I always thought that Zack Snyder could be the heir apparent, not that he's anyone's heir, but of Tony Scott. Tony Scott was an incredible visual stylist. He didn't write his own stuff. Again, just yesterday I was watching a little Crimson Tide, as one does. Because it was on YouTube. I was like, I haven't seen this in a long time. That movie's so entertaining. And Zack Snyder can work with great actors. He can get great performances if he needs to. What he needs is to bring himself back down to earth and make movies like this. And this sounds, you can bring your surrealism. The only thing that gives me pause is the tenuous grip between real and fantasy, or real and surreal. But this sounds like a Tony Scott movie.
Yeah, it does.
And I'm like, if he's going to go this route and he's going to make political thrillers, spy thrillers, movies like, I don't know, I'd love to see Zack Snyder's Days of Thunder. If Tom Cruise is going to make another one, if Joseph Kosinski isn't going to direct it, let Zack Snyder do it. I think that Zack Snyder's, he's got his fandom yayas out. He's made his Watchmen. He's made his Dawn of the Dead. He didn't get to make his Star Wars, so he made Rebel Moon. Let him come back down to earth. And because I love Dawn of the Dead, it was a movie I thought I was going to hate, because the original is one of my favorite movies of all time. He made me believe. Snyder made me believe. I went into that movie wanting to hate that remake, and I was like, this is great. And the director's cut's even better. I'm not saying it's as good as Romero's, but it's good. And I liked it. And I would like to see him, I mean, going into the mountains, seeing Zack Snyder shooting real locations, real landscapes with, you know, drug cartels and all the, bring it on.
Now, I
I'm
know
like,
you weren't a big fan of his next zombie film, which was Army of the Dead. I actually I had a good time with Army of the Dead myself. I had fun.
maybe it
with
was because it was the first movie I saw out of the pandemic. I did see the Chinese, but yeah, no, it was a plot thing. It was story.
Listen.
It was story.
That
for
is
me.
normally the weakness in a Zack Snyder film.
Yeah, it was well done.
But I still had fun with it. I thought it was pretty good.
I just thought there was too many I'm like, come on, you guys.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? We've got Zack Snyder's next project lined up. It's a more grounded kind of an indie film sort of thing with The Last Photograph. I think it sounds really interesting. And I 100% think this is absolutely the right kind of film for Zack Snyder to do right now.
Yep.
Whatever you guys think about it, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Piracy has always been an issue. I mean, going back to Napster, right? Anybody remember Napster? Ooh, that was a big deal at the time. Wait a minute. I can download music for free?
Not
It's
if
the
Metallica
craziest
says
thing.
so.
It's the craziest thing. And it like took over the world. There's never going to stop Napster. Well, they stopped Napster. But, you know, Napster got stopped because the industry evolved. Apple Music, iTunes came out with this idea. You know what? We're going to make it simple and cheap for you to acquire this music. What was it, like $1 a song or whatever it was at the time? And you can download legally, showing that, listen, people are totally fine with paying for the content they get if it's convenient and reasonably priced. If it's convenient, reasonably priced, and simple to do, and therefore Napster kind of dried up and went away. We saw for a good number of years, anti-piracy campaigns and moves and things like that started to work. As going up to about 2020, we saw declines in piracy. But piracy is back, matey, and stronger than ever and resurging. There's this great article right now in The Guardian where the headline is "Can't Pay, Won't Pay," and impoverished streaming services are driving viewers back to piracy. As subscription costs rise and choice diminishes on legal sites, film and TV fans are turning to VPNs and illicit streamers, with Sweden, home of both Spotify and the Pirate Bay, leading the way. As a matter of fact, one of the things statistics mentioned in this is the fact that these are people who admit it. 25% admit that they will illegally stream things. Here's another interesting thing. Like back in the day of pirate, you can take that down now, Jonathan. Back in the day of Pirate Bay and stuff like that, the way we pirated was we downloaded files. Now they're saying 94% of the piracy that's happening is illegal streaming. They don't download the files like through a BitTorrent. They find a site, a black site, and stream it and stuff like that. Interesting stuff. So what's behind all this? What's been going on? Well, there's a number of kind of things that have been evolving that have created a fertile ground for a rise in piracy. First of all is price increases, right? You can bring up my screen there. Yeah, price increases. Right now, the cost of Disney Plus ad-supported tier. Remember, Disney Plus did not start when I was in high school. Disney Plus started just a couple of years ago.
Wait, how old are you, John?
It happened just a couple of years ago. Mandalorian season 1. And today, the price of Disney Plus's ad-supported tier is more expensive than Disney Plus with no ads was when it first launched. The prices of these and it's not just Disney Plus, and Disney Plus isn't even the worst. I've lost count of how many times Netflix has announced price increases over the line. The prices just keep going up and up and up at an incredibly rapid rate, far outpacing inflation. You can't just go, well, you know, inflation. No. The price increases are vastly outpacing inflation. Also, the second kind of factor here is dispersal of content. It used to be like, let's take the iTunes store when it first came out. You can get all your music on iTunes. There was one place you could go and you can get your music. Then competitors came out, but still you can go to any one of the competitors and get whatever music you wanted. not that long ago, you didn't have to go all over the place to get a lot of streaming. But as all the studios started developing their own streamers as alternatives to Netflix, suddenly there was no centralized stuff to get all your content. You want to watch Landman? Got to have Disney Plus. You want to watch Daredevil Born Again? You got to have Disney Plus. Or Paramount Plus was for Landman.
Yeah.
Disney Plus. Here, you want to watch the new Harry Potter series? You got to have HBO. Hey, you want to watch reruns of The Office? You got to have Peacock. You want to watch... Now you've got to have all these streaming... Hell, even if you're a football fan, you want to see every game? Well, you got to have an Amazon Prime Video account to watch the Thursday games. You got to have ESPN's account to watch these games. You're going to have a... I mean, it's just... There is no centralized content. So now, if you want to just be a viewer of all the popular stuff, you got to have like 7 or 8 memberships. So price increase, dispersal of content. And the third thing that's becoming a bigger and bigger question mark is the question of ownership or the lack thereof. It used to be, once you downloaded that song, you owned it. I mean, you didn't own the rights to the song, but that was your song. You can put it on your, what was it called? Your, what was the Apple device called again?
Who cares?
iPad,
It's all about
iPod.
The iPod.
It's all about the Zune, baby.
Yeah. You download it. You could put it on your Zune.
Zune HD.
You could put it on your iPod. You could put it on your little Asus MP3 player.
Oh, yeah.
You could I still had one of those about the size of a thumb drive.
Yep.
You could hold up to 12 songs on it, Jonathan.
Dude, it's good enough for a run. You go on a run, you
12
got your...
songs.
Yeah.
I miss
Plug
mine.
your headphones into it because there was no Bluetooth. But today now, like, you can buy a copy of a movie and then theoretically, it's never happened to me, but theoretically speaking, that service in 2 years could just remove it from their libraries and you get no refund and you're just out of luck. So price increases, dispersal of content, questions of ownership. You know, there's a saying going around now that says, if buying doesn't equal ownership, then piracy doesn't equal stealing. That's not true, but I understand why people say it. I do. And here's the thing, Rob. Listen, stealing is stealing. It just is. Just because a Ferrari is too expensive for me to afford doesn't justify me going and taking it.
No.
Right? Yeah. Hey, this stuff is unreasonable. That doesn't justify stealing it. But I understand the motivation.
I ain't saying you should have killed her.
Yeah.
But I understand.
Like price increases, dispersal of content, questions of ownership. But here's the thing that really shocks me. All right. These are the numbers. Take a look at this. So as we look at these things of price increases, dispersal of content, question of ownership, as piracy was declining up till 2020, visits to piracy websites have surged from 130 billion site visits in 2020, which is still a lot, to 216 billion site visits in 2024. Up until
In a year.
In 4 years. Yeah, per year.
Yeah. Now, there ain't but 8 billion people on the whole planet.
Yeah.
Can you dig it?
They were combating piracy well. People were moving away from piracy because tools were coming out, like when iTunes came out, that made it simpler, reasonably priced, straightforward. But as it's gotten more convoluted, as it's gotten more expensive, as it's became more dispersed, and now with all these questions about do you even own the damn thing? From 2020 to 2024, that's nearly double. And by the way, they don't obviously have the 2025 numbers now, but they're projecting the 2025 numbers are going to go from 216 billion to 275, which is more than double than just 4 or 5 years ago. And Rob, again, it's not justified, but I get it. And at what point, Rob, does a shift happen? Like the iTunes moment, you know, when Steve Jobs and the folks at iTunes said, okay, look, it's becoming harder and more expensive. And now these new tools to make it accessible. What do we need to do to respond? They came up with iTunes. They made it simple. They made it affordable. And everybody was happy.
Except the artists.
Well, but I mean, the artists are less happy today than they were when iTunes came out.
Yeah.
What kind of shift needs to happen now? What do you attribute the explosion of piracy to the most? And what kind of new shift does the industry, because listen, making it more expensive and making it more complicated ain't helping. It's making the problem worse.
Yeah.
What kind of shift do we need to see here to get people to go, okay, you do this, I don't need to pirate? How do you see it?
Well, one of the big problems is once we turned everything into files, the value of everything basically dropped to zero. Because people look at a file and they're like, it's just a file. They don't understand that it might have taken 2 years to produce your favorite album. That costs a lot of money. Same with movies. I mean, and our entertainment, whether it's streaming television shows, whether it's music, whether it's movies, the value of them have dropped in people's minds to zero. They just think entertainment's entertainment, whatever. So there has to be, I think, a re-examination. By the way, it's never going to happen. I wish there were. That society would come back and people would just realize, you know what? If my favorite artist makes something, I shouldn't sit there and go, well, they become rich, so what do they care? I can just steal their shit. We have to somehow instill in people that there is value to these things, that it costs money. Piracy has destroyed low-budget filmmaking. There's no way to make it used to be Hollywood could make a $2 million movie or less and make money on it. That's almost impossible now. It completely took out a sector of an entry-level sector of people could make films and hope to make some money.
How many people pirated John Schnepp's?
Well, that was, you know what?
It nearly destroyed him.
It destroyed him when it was our own community that was stealing Superman Lives, What Happened. And that, you know, I know he went to his grave being bothered by that because millions of people, he would come back and tell me how many millions of people downloaded his movie. And he's like, I have to pay back my investors. You know, these people gave me money to make this film, and I've got my own community stealing my film. And I'm sure I'm not blaming some of the people in this room, but still, it's that mindset. And if we don't understand that these things are not free, you have to understand, like, so much in our society is like, well, if it's what I want, then I should have it. There's no understanding of repercussions, because how do you go after piracy? How do you go after, I was on the high seas today to find this. And to be fair, there's a lot of stuff you can't find. I want to buy Barbarian on physical media. For whatever reason, I can't. Zach Kreger's been bitching about it online, which I love. I would love Second Sight to be licensed at. I would love to pay $40 to buy Barbarian, but I can't. I can't own, how can I own Barbarian? And that's another thing. If you can't get something and buy it, if it's not available or you can't go get it, people are going to download it. They're going to take it because they want it. And if you're not going to make things available for people, easily obtained, hey, $3.99, $4.99, whatever it is you're going to cost or whatever, make it available for people to do that. I think people, I mean, look, a lot of people are going to steal it anyway. So it's tough. You're never going to get people who are not going to buy for free. Who are not going to buy things. They're going to get it for free. It's very hard to get those people to suddenly pay you. So you have to go after them. You know, figure out a way to have a downloadable malware in your, whatever it is. Don't do this. But we have to change. The only way you can really do it is to somehow en masse change the idea that you got to make sure people know this is stealing. You are preventing your favorite creators from being able to make something else because their material isn't making enough money because you stole it.
I 100% agree.
I don't know how to do that.
I would go one step further, though, and say the industry was doing that. And it was having an impact. Because, again, from like 2015 to 2020, they saw year after year declines in piracy, right? Why did that curve change to an increase in piracy? It changed because the industry changed.
Yeah.
The industry, like, you can't go and pitch a goodwill message to fans and saying, hey, come on, guys, like, let's reward creators. Let's not steal. Like, there's value in the content. You can't do that. And then as soon as you start getting people on board with it, going, you know what, you're right. It's a goodwill thing. We're fans. We do want to pay for the content we have.
Well,
and then you start screwing them without lube from behind.
100%.
You destroy that message. You destroy it. And like, I think now the only way back is going to have to be something along the lines where you address these three things: price increase, dispersal of content, question of ownership.
Yep.
So like a bundle program, like right now we got a bundle program that's what, HBO Max, Disney Plus, and Hulu, right? And that got huge success. So like people know, okay, for a cheaper price, I have this one subscription where I get a lot more of the content that I want. It's going to be very difficult to negotiate, but if at some point like the master bundles can be made, where like Netflix and Peacock and Paramount Plus and HBO and Disney Plus say, hey, we have a master subscription you can have for like $40 a month. You get all of this, one subscription, all your content, blah, blah, blah. I mean, that's going to be very difficult to do, but I don't know that appealing to the better nature of fans anymore.
No, it doesn't.
It's going to work when you did that already and then fuck them afterwards anyway.
Well, I mean, what we are seeing in our culture today, whether it's tariffs, vegetable prices, whatever you're looking at, everywhere we look, we are getting screwed by corporately held. I mean, I understand corporations have to make money, but they're raising prices on every level of society.
Yeah.
And everyone, when you're doing that, eventually it's going to be like, well, I'm going to start stealing. On every play, I'm going to start stealing produce from the grocery store. I read an article this morning. It said produce in our grocery stores in America are up. They're as expensive as they were during World War II.
Yeah.
In terms of, I mean, that's where we're at now.
It's going to go up too, and you're going to have scarcity.
It's scary. It's going to, and the thing is, how if everybody's doing this on every level of society, well, something's got to give, because we, the middle class, that are being screwed over, are eventually. It's like, well, I really want to watch my media, but I have to eat, and I can't afford to pay these subscription prices, so I'll just go to the high seas and steal it. So all of this corporate gouging on every level of society is eventually going to affect every level of corporate gouging, and people are going to do what they're going to be dishonest because the world is turning them dishonest. And it's a big problem, and I think it's affecting everybody in ways that they're not even. But hey, when AI takes over and we all get universal basic income, who cares?
Anyway, guys, the question is for you. What do you think about this? I mean, and listen, I think most rational, semi-intelligent people say, yeah, piracy is wrong. We get it. But that moral message kind of gets lost when we have these corporate entities that are just looking for every way they possibly can to screw you and me over. It makes the average film consumer go, well, maybe I want to screw you a little bit back. What do you think the answers are and the solutions to making it so it can be a win-win for everybody? Whatever you guys think, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to this, shall we? Saw this story and it was concerning, to say the least. So look, we all know that we want people to behave well in movie theaters, right? We all know we want people to behave well in movie theaters. It should be a part of the social contract that we all understand that, and we all respect it, and we all abide by it. But a CBS report, actually was on NBC, everything else too, an AMC theater in Boston, where, let me just give you the basic gist of it. A guy was there watching a movie. A number of teenagers were really disruptive, screaming things at the screen and, stuff like that. The guy asked them politely to stop. They didn't. He asked them politely to stop again. They didn't. So then he decided to go to the management, which is understandable. You paid for a movie. Other people in the theater paid for a movie. You want to be able to watch it. I mean, listen, cheering at a big thing in a comic book movie or clap, that's fine. But when you start screaming things at the screen, all that kind of stuff, you're disrupting people. Here's where it gets interesting. This comes from CBS News. After he asked the group to quiet down multiple times, he left to get a manager to deal with the situation, but he says that AMC staff never addressed it. You can bring my image back up there, Jonathan. Never addressed it. Now, the story then goes on that after the movie was done, the guy was leaving the theater and the teenagers were waiting for him. And it says 5 of them attacked him for 2 to 3 minutes. And nobody did anything in the theater, and then they left before the police got there. And you can see from the thumbnail that he's got a black eye and all this kind of stuff. Now, look, one of the things that I think we have to be clear on is that we cannot blame AMC theaters for a group of teenagers being assholes, right? Can't blame that. Again, let me pull a back in my day sort of thing. But back in my neighborhood when I grew up, not that Canada had the mean streets, but it was just understood.
You had hockey.
We had hockey. We deal with things a certain way in hockey. Like, all due respect to the other sports, but we deal with the issue.
Yes, you do.
Right? But that's kind of a Canadian mentality. When in our neighborhoods, in our high schools and stuff like that, it's just known. You want to fight somebody, you fight somebody. You don't have 2 guys fighting 1 guy. You don't have 3 guys fighting 1 guy. You don't have 5 guys fighting 1 guy. Because where I grew up, if it ever got out that you ganged up on somebody, you got paid a visit. It was just a social contract. We all understood that.
Yeah.
You got paid a visit. Because I'm sorry, and I speak directly. I don't know if maybe these kids watch this thing. You are the ultimate pussy if you go and get into a fight and you have to have other people doing it with you. Sorry. Anyway, that's a sidetrack thing.
Got your ass.
So anyway, guess that we can't blame AMC because you can go anywhere. You can be on the subway and have misbehaving people. You can go into the grocery store and we have seen that and have misbehaving people. You can go to a baseball game. We've seen this and have misbehaving people. Anywhere you go where public people can interact, you could have that, right? I don't blame AMC for that. But one of my biggest complaints about movie theaters as a whole, not just AMC. I talk about AMC more because I go to AMC. They are my favorite movie theater chain. You'd never guess that, but they really are. So I go to them most, so I talk about them most. One of my biggest complaints about the movie-going experience for years is that I remember when I first got to LA, Rob, going to the ArcLight Theater.
Ah, yes.
Oh, I miss them.
Oh, do I do.
But every movie started with a staff member walking in front of the audience, say, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming to ArcLight Theater. And part of the thing is saying, please respect your fellow film patrons here. Please do not talk during the movie. Don't pull out your phone. And saying, I'm going to stick around in here for the first few minutes, make sure the picture and audio is good. I'm going to be right out there. If anybody needs me, come get me, bluntly, all that kind of stuff, right?
People would applaud them every time.
And people would applaud them,
Yeah.
right? And it was a great experience. And one of the things that has really bothered me about that, movie theaters don't have that, right? They don't have that. And even now, just recently, what did Adam Aaron, the CEO of AMC Theaters, when they're saying we're going to shrink the pre-show time, how are they shrinking it? They're going to take out the message that asks people to not talk and take out your phones. I'm not making this up. We talked about it the other day. He literally said, we're going to shrink the pre-show time by just a couple of minutes by taking out the spot that asks people don't talk during the movie. Are you fucking kidding me? You insane moron. Anyway, the part about this story that really gets me.
We need Batman in front of every theater.
The part of this story that really gets me is not that AMC staff didn't jump in to help the guy. Like, listen, some of these kids making $12 an hour. I don't expect these kids to put their personal health on the line to whatever. No, that's not even the part that bothers me. From an AMC perspective, the part that bothers me is, again, this highlighted paragraph. The guy did what he was supposed to do. He went to the management and nobody did anything. They didn't even respond. They didn't even send in somebody to say, hey guys, we're getting some requests. Can you please quiet down? They didn't do crap. So those kids were allowed to just continue to sit there, do all the shit that they were. And since they were there and they knew this guy went to the management now, then again, I'm not blaming AMC for the actions of the teenagers. But what I am saying is that never should have come to that. Now, before anybody tries to jump to their defense, will say, well, John, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I'm not saying you need to have some armed security. I'm not saying that. I'm not indulging that or encouraging that at all. But even just, here's an idea, Rob. 3 people in red AMC shirts. You know what I used to, one of my jobs when I was younger, I was a cruiser. I was a guy that worked at the roller rink that my job was just to cruise around on the rink just to make sure everybody's okay and nobody's acting up too much and whatever.
Did your dance crew perform at that roller rink?
We did. I won my first Adidas windbreaker outfit at a breakdancing competition at that roller rink. As a matter of fact.
Wow, dude, is there
True
video?
story.
Does your mom, you had to cache a videotape.
It
It's
is
gotta be
buried
found.
with top men. So anyway, 3 guys that in, let's say, a 9 theater complex, and each one of them goes into one theater for about 5 minutes in the hallway, not disrupting the thing, just in the hallway. Then after 5 minutes, they each go to the next one, so that every 15 minutes, each theater will have a member in there and have shirts designated. Hey, I'm a customer service guy. And I'm not saying they should go in and physically grab problem people and throw them out, but empower them to say, hey guys, can you please settle down? And if you don't, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. And if you don't leave, we are going to call the police right now and we're going to charge you with trespassing and we're going to press charges against you. Just somebody. So it's not the moviegoer's responsibility to do this. Now, before anybody, I know I can already hear what some people are, click, 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 click. John, that's so expensive. It's going to drive up that's going to, no, it's not. No, it's not. Take a look at this. I did some quick math and I verified this through all the official channels. The average AMC movie theater makes $6.6 million per year in revenue. Okay. At an average of $14 per ticket, which is the average film cost last year of an AMC movie ticket. That's 471,427 tickets sold per year per theater. 3 Rover staff at $20 an hour. Okay. So you don't have to pay them massive, but you can pay them way more than minimum wage. $20 an hour for 10 hours a day each. That's $600 a day. $600 a day times 365 days. That's a $219,000 a year investment. $219,000 divided by that 471,427 tickets sold is 46 cents per ticket. You split that 46 cents up amongst 15 more cents per ticket, 15 more cents per drink, and 15 more cents per popcorn. By the way, they've increased the price of these tickets by like $3 just in the last couple of years. They can handle this. They shouldn't even pass the expense on to the audience. But even if you wanted to pass the expense on, 15 cents on a soda, 15 cents on popcorn, 15 cents on a ticket. For 46 cents, bring this back up. For 46 cents, every AMC movie theater could have 3 full-time roving monitor security people that we are not asking to create physical altercations, whatever. Again, I don't mind spending 15 extra cents or 46 extra cents if you're going to better my experience. Just the fact that this guy, a customer, went to the management to say, you got some really disruptive people in there, and they did nothing. They didn't even walk into the theater to see it for themselves. They said, not my problem. Why would anybody want to go to an AMC theater? Like, listen, again, I don't blame AMC for the behavior of the teens.
Right.
I do blame you for your actions or lack thereof. So if you're not even going to address a consumer's complaint, a very valid complaint, a thing that is not just ruining that guy's experience, but other people who are in that cinema, your customers, and you don't even have the time to take a second and walk into that theater and see what's up. Had they done that, this guy wouldn't have gotten beaten up. Again, I'm not blaming them for what the teens did, but this is something that should not happen. This is a great example about how a movie theater chain like AMC continues to be tone deaf. They keep raising the prices and keep lowering the service. Because Rob, in those last couple of years that those movie tickets have gone up by $3 or more per ticket, the number of staff I see in these theaters continues to go down.
Yeah.
There's fewer and fewer attendants at the concession stand. There's fewer and fewer customer service. I used to walk into the AMC Burbank and there would be a couple of security guys there. Last time I went in there, I didn't see one. Maybe there was one there. I'm just saying I didn't see them. So the prices keep going up. The service keeps going down. And now we're seeing some real practical physical ramifications of that. And I just don't know why customer service has become such a foreign fucking concept to these movie theaters, particularly AMC. Anyway, Rob, you saw this story. What were the first things that came up to you?
Well, I would say the problem that I have, I agree with everything you're saying, but the thing that's really disturbing about this story is that after the movie was over and they left, these teens found that guy
In the theater.
and beat him up, which says to me that the people that you're dealing with first and foremost are people that I think are beyond the scope of what a movie theater can expect to deal with. They're kids that are unruly, call it bad parenting. These are people that I don't think you'd have to hire somebody with either police or military skills to deal with people like that, because they're willing to escalate a situation even after it's over. They're willing to seek out violence after the fact.
Yeah.
I think the way to deal with people like that, the only way to deal with people like that, is public shaming. And I think how many people where it ever gets so bad, I would imagine that people come out, if movie theaters should say to policy, if a person comes out and complains, so there's some pretty unruly people, it's a good bet those people are really unruly. I would stop the movie.
Yeah.
I would turn on the lights, and I would have 3 people come to the bottom of the screen, 3 ushers, and make it a thing. Go, who are the assholes in here? Maybe not use the word assholes. Who are the unruly people who have paid money to come watch a movie but aren't watching the movie? Who is disrespecting our business? And make it a thing and put up a camera and go, please raise your hands because you're on social media. And just do that. And you don't have to talk to anybody. And if you don't want to be here, we offer you the opportunity. Please leave our theater right now. We'll give you a refund if that's the case. Otherwise, shut the F up and let people enjoy the movies. And if you're not going to, don't come back to our establishment. That way, there's no personal confrontation, but I would make it a thing. I would make public shaming of people in movie theaters something to go viral, turn it around, have Nicole Kidman go, I look forward to your unruly behavior in our AMC theaters because we're looking forward to put you on our social media because we can't spank your bare bottoms, but we can certainly shame you publicly.
You know who does that really well?
Yeah, the Alamo.
Yeah. Listen, I have certain issues with the Alamo Drafthouse, but they are the industry leaders. Like, somebody pulls out their phone for more than 3 seconds, there's an assistant manager coming in and throwing them out. Like, I love the way Alamo deals with that. I really do.
Dude, I told you the story. I was at the Hollywood Bowl at a classical concert. At intermission, a group of pretty unruly people, by the way, in their like 20s and 30s, who were clearly drunk, came in at the intermission, and they were talking during a classical performance. And I turned a couple of times and asked them, I said, hey, can you guys please be quiet? When the performance was over, a guy stepped up to me. And you know what I did? These people are all idiots. You just lean into them and you just put on the Clint Eastwood voice. You want to go step outside? No, that guy he was completely freaked out that I was leaning into him because I'm not small. And I can defend myself, but I am tired of this kind of behavior. And usually when people do it en masse and they're challenged, unless they're packed, I mean, if they got a gat in their waist, it's a different story. But I mean, I'm like, I will step up to people because they will usually back down. But this kind of behavior is unacceptable, and it's because it's gone unchecked. Parents haven't dealt with it. Teachers have to deal with it. Our schools have to deal with it every single day. And this is a societal problem that it's systemic, and it starts in the home, and it's not being taken care of. And the only way to deal with it, you step up to somebody, you're going to create static that leads to violence. But public shaming is the only way to go.
You get a couple of guys. Again, we're none of us are saying that these guys that the theater staff should have physically intervened.
No, but
we're not saying that.
They're not going to leave though.
But give them the authority to approach problem people like that and say, can you stop? And if they're not stopping, they're authorized to take the next step. We are going to have to ask you to leave. And then you authorize them to take the next step. If you don't get up and leave right now, we are going to press charges against you for trespassing. We're going to have the cops here in a few minutes. We're going to have you handcuffed, and we're going to charge you with trespassing and threatening us. Because by you not leaving, we're asking you to leave our place. You're threatening us. Again, I'm not asking them to get people physically involved, but I mean, if you're not going to look, there's 2 different incidents. The incident in the theater itself, and then the incident in the lobby. Okay. So let me just separate those for a second.
One led to another. Inaction led to a guy getting beat up.
Proper management of it here would have prevented what happened here. But if I'm going to separate those for a second, again, it is much easier to deal with a situation here than let it just mindlessly escalate and get it to that point there. Then at that point, I don't expect any AMC theater kid who's getting paid $12 an hour to put their health at risk and jump in and try to physically restrain 5 guys. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the very fact that this patron did what he should have done, which was ask the other patrons to be quiet, and they didn't. He then went and reported it to the management. If the patron paying to be there can do their job, why can't the staff of the theater do their job? And just go in and ask those people to quiet down. And if they won't, say, we're going to have to ask you to leave. And if they don't get up and leave, say, then we're going to call the police and press charges. It's not rocket science. It just seems like AMC for years now, while they've made great plush leather reclining seats and they have a marvelous membership program, the viewer experience seems to be something they just don't give 2 shits about anymore. And they wonder why year over year they're selling fewer movie tickets.
But also, nobody ruins the viewer experience more than other viewers.
Yeah.
I mean,
and you know what? I've been really lucky. Listen, by the way, I have been really lucky in literally the thousands and thousands of times I've gone to the movie theaters. Maybe 8 times out of the thousands and thousands, I've had to turn and ask somebody to be quiet. And you know what? 7 of those 8 times, the person go, oh yeah, sorry. And they stopped. One time it was a gaggle of these teenage girls and they never shut up. And that was the one thing. I've been really lucky that way.
Me too. And we usually go to movies on first days and things like that. So everybody there is a fan. They want to be there. Yeah.
But anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this little story? Again, you can't blame the movie theater for unruly teens, but I can blame the movie theater for what they then do and don't do. I don't know. What do you think should have happened here as a result of all this? By the way, if any of you know who these 5 guys are, post it on social media. Dox them. I don't care.
Public shaming always works.
Public shame them. But whatever you guys think about all this, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, it's time for us to move on to the most important part of our show, which is, of course, taking your live comments and questions. I know we've already gone way over time on the show today.
It's been a great show, though.
But before we get to that, I want to thank, of course, Robert Meyer Burnett for being here. Great job, as always,
Thank you, John, and I look forward to seeing all of you in the chat tonight at 6 o'clock Pacific for Movie Trailers, A Love Story.
Yeah, we cannot wait for you guys to join us for that. And you know what? Before we get to your questions, we are going to take just a brief sec. For those of you who don't know anything about the little documentary made a few years ago, Movie Trailers, A Love Story, we're doing the YouTube premiere tonight. Here's a quick look at the little trailer we have for Movie Trailers, A Love Story. Check it out.
I am privileged to say a few words to you in this most modern and novel manner.
The movie trailer's now well over 100 years old, most famously with John Miljan in the trailer for Al Jolson's The Jazz Singer. Its role is to convince an audience to come back into the cinema.
The trailer is everything to sell the movie.
Sell the sizzle, not the steak. We're really feeding into the sizzle in that moment.
It's the first look at a new film.
We need to be a little more compelling from frame one.
A guitar riff, a line of dialogue, something that gets us amped.
It's a trick to get people to just tune in for 2 to 5, 10 minutes.
When the music is synced to the action that's happening on the screen, when things are cut to the beat.
With a cover of a song.
This is a trailer moment.
It's about what your reaction to the trailer is. Sonic. I'm talking about Sonic here. Trailer debuts on Apple became a huge deal.
The internet changed the game for the movie trailer.
Oh, this trailer just dropped? Let me see if I like that.
Part of the magic is seeing it with other people.
Huddled around her phone. It's Robert Downey Jr. He became Tony Stark.
Couldn't stop talking about it.
Suddenly, every studio wanted their trailer in front of 6,000 people in Hall H.
It's an extension of the trailer experience.
Good on you. You should probably do this for a career.
The music drops and bam, the action hits and there's Tom Cruise jumping and leaping off of buildings.
Baby Driver trailer, for instance. It's like you're watching a mini movie.
Beyond the darkness, beyond the human evolution, the wrath of Khan.
Star Trek is on the big screen.
That trailer for episode 1.
It was a cultural event.
But you're just experiencing this piece of art.
They make you want to fall in love with the movie.
Sit with us and feel like its own experience.
All right, guys, and that's just the little trailer for this little movie we made, this little documentary made about movie trailers called Movie Trailers: Love Story. It is now going to be premiering tonight on here on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, and we're going to be in the live chat tonight when it starts again. That's going to be at 6 p.m. LA time. I believe that's 9 p.m. New York time, and we hope you will come by and join us for that. All right. With that down, guys, we're almost out of time for today's show already, but let's get through the questions that people have sent in, shall we? What do we got up first?
Matt Yellows. Do you think Alan Ritchson would be a great Booster Gold? He did play Thad Castle in Blue Mountain State.
Wasn't that read yesterday?
Did we do this one, Alan Ritchson? Because someone else had brought it up.
Okay, well, I mean, somebody asked the exact same thing about it yesterday. I don't see him as a Booster Gold type. I think there are a couple of characters in DC. Again, I wouldn't complain if they announced him as Booster Gold, X actor and X role, but I don't see him as a fit, to be honest with you. All right, what's next?
Top Gun Manny says, yesterday marked 30 years since the release of the movie. Oh, yeah, we did read that one. Oh, you know what happened? It kind of went out of order, like it refreshed. Okay. Nuaku says, I think James Gunn's older casting is intentional. If you consider the characters you mentioned on the show, it looks to me like they could be replaced with younger, more prominent derivative characters to replace them with real consequences. R.I.P. Hal Jordan.
I don't know about that. Like Eddie Gathegi being 46, 47 years old. I mean, he looks great. He can play that character for a while. Again, maybe some of them are set up that they could be killed off, but you don't need an older actor playing a character to kill the character off. Like, I actually think Nathan Fillion, this is just a theory. I think Nathan Fillion gets murdered. I think Guy Gardner gets murdered in Lanterns. I don't think it's Hal Jordan. I think it's Guy Gardner. And I could be wrong about that. But again, I am a little concerned, again, just a little, that so many of his bigger castings have been actors that I think, like, the youngest is like 47, some in their 50s. But I mean, they've only cast one core Justice League member so far, and that's Superman. And he's in his early 30s, so it might not be an issue at all. All right, what's next?
My only thing, just real quick, about if he's the one who dies, then that means you do have to do homework, because in the next time we go into the DCU movie, that character that we saw in Superman is gone.
Yeah.
That's my only thing about that.
Right.
Anonymous. When you do Nashville, you should also go to Knoxville, about 2.5 hours farther east of Nashville. The headquarters of Regal is there. And I know a guy who knows a guy who could almost certainly get at least the head of film for Regal there, who is also Canadian, by the way.
Maybe. Now, the thing is, like, when we do the tours, as if we've done them already, we're doing the we want to cover as much ground as we can. And it's not a real efficient use of our time to do two cities that are just like 2 hours apart from each other, right? Now, I'm not saying that's a rule that we have. It is possible we could do Nashville and Knoxville. It's possible we could do Dallas and where's South by Southwest again? Austin. We could do Austin and Dallas. We're generally aiming for one city per state, unless it's a state as big as California, in which we're going to do a couple. But it's possible we could do both. I mean, I would love to visit. We're definitely going to visit some Regal theaters.
There's always return trips. You kind of just have to look at the map and see how your round trip works out.
But 2.5 hours apart might be far enough apart. We'll see. All right, what's next?
Prometheus. Hey, John, I've been watching since 2012. During the AMC days, what's crazy is I'm turning 26 at the end of the month, and I have a 2-year-old boy now. Also, one of the movies that I'm ashamed of not seeing is coming to theaters for the 50th anniversary. I am seeing it, Jaws, for its 50th anniversary.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, I've never seen it either. Like, I was literally a child, when, like, I was barely born by the time that movie came out. Yeah, I've never seen it in theaters either. I will absolutely be going, and I can't wait. It is one of the touchstone movies of Hollywood history. It's just one of those films. There's maybe a dozen, 15 of those films that you can really put up there, and Jaws is 100% one of those. And thank you for watching for so long, man. I appreciate that, dude.
Yep.
All right, what's next?
and the first summer blockbuster. Okay, so two-parter, $28 tip from Scooby Drool.
Oh, thank you, Scooby Drool.
Hi, John and crew. Why haven't Marvel considered doing a Ghost Rider reboot? The Ghost Rider character is a real badass and popular. I remember you said...
No, he's not. He's not popular.
With Marvel fans, but yeah. You don't see Marvel doing a reboot of Ghost Rider. Why? I bet if Marvel does a reboot of Ghost Rider, it would get fans talking about Marvel again. Also, do you see Marvel doing a Midnight Suns movie? I just don't think so.
Listen, I could be wrong. I could 100% be wrong. Your opinion is no less valid than mine, but you are asking me my opinion, so I'll give it. Ghost Rider is not that popular amongst average fans.
I mean, it had barely a pop on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't get a lot of people watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean, obviously, they had the previous movies. You can bring into question how good the movies were or lack thereof and all that kind of stuff. But I'm sorry, but the reality is Ghost Rider is not that popular amongst the average fans.
And I love Ghost Rider personally.
Yeah. Now, that's not to say that makes it impossible. I mean, the average fan didn't know who the Guardians of the Galaxy were, right? So that doesn't automatically disqualify it. But whereas before Guardians of the Galaxy came out, like Ghost Rider, say the average film goers don't care about them. With Guardians of the Galaxy, though, we could look at them and say, but the average movie audience will care about them. They will like them. These are the types of characters and the type of movies, like if I had been able to read the script before it came out, that the general audience will, just the general audience will attach to and whatever. I don't think I can say the same thing of Ghost Rider. And I like the Ghost Rider character. But if you think Ghost Rider is that one pot of gold that Marvel just needs to pop to really make Marvel, again, your opinion is no less valid than mine, but I just got to say my opinion is very different than yours. I don't think that's the case. I really don't. And I think they know that, and that's probably why they haven't done it so far. As far as Midnight Suns, someday, maybe. I don't see it happening anytime soon. All right, what's next?
Wade, I know you'll be gradually working your way to the East Coast, so please take your time and safe travels. However, will you be putting North Carolina on your list of stops? If so, I do have a theater in mind.
Yeah, we're definitely going to be doing North Carolina. Like right now, again, we're doing San Diego this weekend. And then in a couple of weeks, we're going to do that 4-city swing of Albuquerque, Denver, Salt Lake City, and Las Vegas. Then probably a few weeks after that, we're going to be stretching further north. So we'll probably do things like Sacramento, Portland, Seattle, then probably hit a couple places on the way back down as well. Then after that, we'll be looking to head east. So that will include places like, Texas and Tennessee and Alabama, and then get further into the Carolinas and stuff like that. So yeah, all that will be happening. And when I do, I will be asking, once we start scheduling those things, I'll be asking, hey guys, when we make our ways through Austin, Texas, which movie theater would you guys recommend? And then we'll start setting it up from there. All right, what's next?
Jake's Khakis. Funny timing that on September 12th, there are two films opening against each other that are both part of a movie trilogy, a trilogy that serve as conclusions to their TV franchises. Downton Abbey, final film out of 3, and Demon Slayer, first film out of 3. Anne would love the Downton Abbey one.
Oh, Anne, listen, Anne is already asking that we make one of our movie meetups, the Downton Abbey movie. And I said, honey, all due respect, I don't think a lot of our audience is going to see Downton Abbey. But yeah, it is kind of coincidental that that's both happening at the same time. All right, what's next?
Right. Oh, thank you, Simon, for that super sticker there.
Oh, thank you, man.
We got Jake with a $20 tip.
Thank you, Jake.
Yeah, John's over the history of cinema. Do you have a favorite group of villains to have graced the big screen?
A favorite group of villains?
I mean, I guess just a collection of villains. I mean, Darth Vader is obviously at the top.
Yeah, if you're talking about favorite villains, you're talking about Hans Gruber, Hannibal Lecter. Obviously, at the very top of the hill is Darth Vader. There's a lot. But if you're asking group of villains, what's been a big group of villains? I'd have to think about that. I mean, Sinister Six sucked. Some people are saying live chat, Sinister Six. No, they sucked.
All the dirty cops in Hollywood and LA Confidential.
Yeah. The orcs in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know. It's an interesting question. I'd have to think about that, but that is a really good question.
We got Dr. Mantis says, I'm kind of nervous what the WB split means for sports broadcasts. Currently, TNT will simulcast most sporting events on HBO Max, including all the individual in-car cameras for NASCAR. That's almost 40 live cameras they can't just drop on a cable channel.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how, like, I don't think it's hyperbole to say sports is the one thing keeping cable television alive. Yep. But we've been seeing over the past couple of years the migration of sports to the streamers. It's all heading in that direction. Anyway, one of the big questions about the whole splitting up of Warner Brothers is, and TNT famously lost the NBA rights and all that kind of stuff, is how will the distribution, if you will, of sports content that was on some of their broadcast cable bodies now hop over or not hop over to HBO Max and vice versa. The way the sports landscape is going to shake out is going to be one of the most important questions in all of streaming over the next couple of years. And it will be really interesting to see how that pans out, man. All right, what's next?
All right, we got Ty. Hey, John. I just saw today marks 14 years of A24. Do you have any favorites from them that stick out? For me, Talk to Me, Ex Machina ranked near the top of my list. I've loved seeing A24 grow as the years go on, so here's to many more.
A24 has almost become a genre. You ever notice that?
Yes.
When you hear it announced, an A24 film, you almost know what kind of movie it's going to be.
Or an A24 style trailer.
Yeah, or like we had the Thunderbolts, did an A24 style trailer. They've almost become a genre unto itself. They're a great little success story. I mean, obviously, Ex Machina's great, but for me, it's Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh, is that A24?
Yeah, unless I'm not remembering it correctly. I thought it was A24. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that was an A24.
I just didn't know. It could be.
So people in the live chat, correct. This is the great thing about having the community here. I thought Everything Everywhere All at Once was A24. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. But that's, yeah, it is A24.
It is, yeah.
That is by far and away. I still remember the first time I watched that movie, man.
Yeah.
I was blown away by the creativity of it, the philosophy of it, the humor of it, the action of it, the performances. Obviously won multiple Academy Awards, including Best Picture, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor for Ki-Hu Kwan. Yeah. To me, that's peak A24.
Do you remember we had, just like weeks before his death, Anton Yelchin was in for Green Room at AMC. Remember that? That was an early A24.
Yep.
I loved, we talked about Kevin Smith. I actually really like Tusk. You know?
Oh, I love Tusk.
Yeah. The Lobster
for what it is. I love it for what it is.
Yeah. Locke.
And by the way, another A24 film, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Anora was A24. And they just won Best Picture. That's another great, guys, if you haven't seen Anora,
Moonlight,
the hype is real. It's great. Yep.
You know, you got Locke. Remember Locke with
they've got with Tom Hardy?
So many, yeah. The Lobster.
All right.
We got that was Ty. We got Preston. John, have you seen the Netflix trailer to Ballad of a Small Player going to limited theaters, then onto Netflix? Colin Farrell plays a high-stakes gambler in this thriller.
I have not.
I haven't watched it, but I'm aware.
I only found out today that the trailer dropped. So yeah, I haven't seen it, but listen, everything about it sounds great to me, so I can't wait to watch the trailer, but I haven't seen it yet.
I did watch the Fallout trailer, though. That was fun.
I did watch the Fallout trailer. That was good.
Jai with a two-parter. When it comes to behind-the-scenes making of a movie, I'm usually more interested in seeing the technical production side of things, but I saw the clip of Gunn and David filming a pivotal scene for Superman, and seeing how Gunn got David to where he and the scene needed to be. You've said it many a time, a director's primary job is to get the best performance from the actor. And to me, that seems like a solid example of how the process should work in action.
I know the clip you're talking about, and that you're right. That is a great example of that. Now, look, the director is literally the everything person. You know, you have, how many departments would you guess like a film has? Like,
a film?
15 departments?
or more
or whatever. And every department has its own heads and stuff like that. Well, the director is the head of all the heads of all the departments. Is making the final decision on everything that happens in a film, blah, blah, blah. But I've said for a long time, the most important job that a director has, and it's not the only job and it's not the only important job, but the most important part of the job of a director is to get the exact and right performance out of the actor that they need to tell the story. That's their primary job. And James Gunn is great at that. Ask any actor he's worked with. James Gunn is a fantastic actor's director. And that clip that you're referring to it's a wonderful one to pull out, man, because that's a great example of, look at Dave Bautista, right? Dave himself, I've talked to him. Dave himself has said, like, when I'm in Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm hardly an actor at all at that point. But look at what in the hands of the right director, who knows how to accentuate the strengths the performer has and knows how to hide the weaknesses of the performer in the performance while getting the performance they need to tell the story. That's a great example of it. And he's truly he's not the best. Mm-hmm. That's Scorsese, but he is definitely one of the best when it comes to that. All right. What's next?
Jai is back. Also, I get the impression that Gunn and David work constructively together. After seeing that clip, my mind went to what it must have been like for Donner when he was shooting scenes with Marlon Brando back in the 70s. That must be a night and day comparison.
I'm sure. 100% sure. Because at that point, when they did that, Brando, it's not like that was early in Brando's career or like when Brando was, a known actor, but he was, no, that they made that when Brando was already Brando.
Yeah.
Right. And, there's a lot of stories about big Hollywood actors who just couldn't be directed anymore. Kevin Smith actually tells a really good story. And listen, I'm not saying this story to bash on Bruce Willis. I love Bruce. You all know that I love Bruce Willis, but Kevin Smith does tell a real story that, like, what was the name of the cop film he did with him again? Anybody in the live chat remember the name of the Kevin Smith cop film that he did with Bruce Willis? But anyway, Kevin Smith tells a story that Bruce Willis was Cop Out. Cop Out. Thank you, Experimental, in the live chat. Bruce Willis just was not interested in being directed. He was just going to do his thing. Right. And, some actors on some films, they've earned that right, I guess. But again, it's pretty special. And I think Brando was probably at that point. I don't think there's a lot of directing of Brando at that point. All right, what's next?
All right, we got Anonymous who says, Belted Earth. Hey, John and crew, around 3 years ago, I stumbled into cosplay and ended up loving it. The past weekend, I entered my first competition and placed second in my category and won $1,000.
Nice.
Never thought the hobbies I love would ever pay me. Engage in fandom, y'all.
Let me see if I can find this. My wife, Anne, is like, okay, first, before I show anything, like, you understand, my wife, Anne, is the ultimate woman. Now, I know every man feels that way about their partner, but I really do. Multiple master's degrees. By the way, it's Dr. Anne now. She just got her doctorate. She's been a big, exec at Amazon, at Apple, at Hasbro. She's now vice president of this major international corporate company. She is the dungeon master of our Dungeons and Dragons group. But she's also, the doc is also a major cosplayer. So we love cosplay around here. So you can just bring this up. And like, she cosplays like even I love her John Wick.
Yeah.
And I like her Ultimate Warrior. Like, so she's been into cosplay and makes all of her own cosplay. Oh, I love her.
The Obi-Wan Kenobi.
No, what are the dark side users who the Empire used?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I forgetting the name of that group? Anyway,
Inquisitor.
The Inquisitors. Yeah, I love her.
I was like Imperator, Inquisitor.
I love her Inquisitor outfit. So yeah, she's been doing cosplay for a lot of years and stuff. So anyway, we love cosplay. I think cosplay is just like one of the most creative, fun, fan things that you can do. Now, I got to admit, I don't get dressed up in costume very much, but like I think it's amazing. One of the big things I love about going to conventions is just seeing the cosplay people come up with. Let me change that. That is the thing I look forward to the most when I go to like Comic-Con or whatever, is to see the costumes that people make. So I think that's totally cool that you've gotten into it. All right, what's next?
Alex, Daniel RPK is reporting Yelena Belova will be in Spider-Man Brand New Day. I mean, it wouldn't shock me.
It wouldn't be shocking. Daniel's interesting. Like, he often is right. He is sometimes wrong. So I wouldn't take it to the bank, but he's one of those guys that if he says it, you at least got to file it away. You at least got to file it away. I mean, again, it's not all that surprising. Yelena has popped up in Hawkeye. She was in Black Widow, obviously in Thunderbolts, because Thunderbolts kind of revolves around her. But I mean, we have other characters popping up in Spider-Man as well. So I don't see how she fits into a Spider-Man movie. But again, with others popping up there and the fact that she's popped up in other projects before, it wouldn't be the most surprising thing.
We got 3 more.
All right.
Anonymous. I know you're not a Demon Slayer fan, but Fandango's doing an early screening only available to Crunchyroll members, which is fun. Movie already made $200 million and is yet to open outside of Asian territories, which is cool for the world of anime.
Yeah. I mean, you're right about everything. About that is an incredibly cool thing for that world. That's an incredible thing for that project. And you're also right that it doesn't interest me. Again, that's not me bashing on it or anybody else who loves it. That's great. But it's not, it doesn't catch my attention or interest very much. All right, what's next?
All right, we got Blackbeard who says, if I can't afford it, I don't get it. And I never support piracy, but when I've had to buy the same thing multiple times because the CD DVD went bad or the files got deleted somewhere, I get it.
Look, one of the things that I've always been very pro of is even when they try to make it illegal, if you own if you buy a Blu-ray, DVD, whatever, and that's your disc, you should be able to back it up. Not share it. But I remember in my final days of being a physical media collector, because I stopped collecting physical media like a decade ago. But in my final days of DVD and Blu-ray collection, the very first thing I did when I got home from buying a disc or when a disc would show up in the mail, the very first thing I did was rip it. So I could have it on my machine. So if anything happened, because these discs are fragile, they scratch, they go missing, they get lost. It happens to everybody. And I would always make sure I had a backup. I never blamed anything for that. And you're right, stealing is stealing. Again, I'm just saying it is tough to make the appeal to audiences and consumers. Hey guys, let's be fair. Let's be reasonable. Piracy is bad. Piracy hurts the industry, blah, blah, blah. It is a tall order to give that pitch to the consumers. And then once the consumers start to respond to it positively, your industry starts to fuck the consumers over at every possible chance you get. The consumers aren't going to listen to you anymore when you go back and make that appeal again. They say, no, when we listened to you last time, you just kept price gouging us. And you kept making it more and more difficult for us to access our content. You kept making it more and more difficult for us to even find our content. You started taking away content that we bought legitimately. Once you make the appeal once, and then you screw them over, it's hard to make that appeal again. You can only say, no, baby, she meant nothing to me. You can only say that so many times, Jonathan, as you well know, right?
You know,
I'm trying to get him in trouble.
As I'm being like eyed from 60 miles away.
There you go. All right. How many more we got left?
Just the last.
All right. Last question of the day.
We got a bit of confessional here from Joe Adonis, but I feel like he did the right thing in the end here. I have to admit, I also downloaded Schnepp's movie because my local debit card did not allow international purchase. But when I came to the US, I bought the highest price bundle he offered. Still feel guilty about that.
You know what? Everybody knows I have universally across the board always been against piracy. Where I confess, I feel like there's a gray area is when there is literally not a legitimate avenue available to you. Like, again, I'm not saying that makes it okay. I'm just saying it is a question when, hey, I'm a consumer. I got my payment ready here. I want to buy or rent or whatever this content. But it's not that it's too expensive. It's not that it's too tricky. It's literally not available to me. I do not have a legitimate way of acquiring that content. Playing devil's advocate, one could rationalize to oneself, well, if it's not even available to me to get, if I download it, am I actually robbing anything of anything? Because like, I'm not robbing them of a purchase because I don't have it available to me to purchase. Again, I'm not saying that's how I feel. I'm saying playing devil's advocate. Anyway, so that would be to say in your situation, if you were in a situation where there was just simply no legitimate way that you were willing to pay for you to get something, so you got it anyway, but then later did pay for it once the opportunity availed itself to you, I have no problems with the way you conducted yourself. I mean, I'm not trying to make any moral imperatives here, but I'm just saying for me, that I don't find anything questionable about the way you conducted yourself. Again, it would be different from person to person, but all right, guys. And that'll do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for being here and making our little show part of your day. Big special thank you, of course, to all of you guys who sent in questions, because you gave us great fun things to talk about, and you supported our channel while we did it. And all of us here at the show, thank you guys so much for your support. Also, big thank you to Robert Meyer Burnett for being here, our technical producer, Jonathan Voico.
See you guys later today in the chat.
My name's John Campea, and until later tonight, my friends, for the movie Trailers a Love Story debut on YouTube, bye-bye.